Well, hello, and thanks for joining us today for our weekly financial roundtable. Welcome to week number 14. Money isn't the most important thing in life, but it's like oxygen on the gotta have it scale. This is a great time to create community and look at the issues and opportunities as it relates to the financial part of the business. This week, we're going to take a slightly different twist, though. Certainly, the dollar and the currency of money is a focal point of these sessions, but we're going to stretch it a little bit. Last week's guests were Jen and Matt Martinelli, and great enlightening session about talent. Loved it. And my quote last week, I'm going to use it again this week, if that's okay. Always believe something wonderful is about to happen. And I think you're going to find our guest today to be wonderful. She was on our session this morning and kind of blew us all away with some of the things that she's doing as it relates to the currency of money. I love this quote. Don't say you don't have enough time. You have exactly the same number of hours per day that were given to Helen Keller, Michelangelo, Mother Teresa, and Albert Einstein, and the rest of us. So currency, there's multiple currencies. There is attention, time, and money, and we refer this to as your ATM. And so we're going to talk about the currency of money today. The currency of time. Hopefully you'll have some light bulb ideas, light bulb moments. There is a 9 grid that is featured for you to keep your own light bulb moments. The 9 grid is featured prominently in our new money course for students. So find your light bulb moments today. Some of the things that we've touched on in previous weeks, we are going to touch back on. So just by way of a reminder, we covered something called the 3 C's, which is a simple process. Really, it's a focusing process. Clarity, closure, and confidence. Closure is about making space for what's next. Clarity is getting clear in a crazy world full of distractions and focus in the age of 2. And then confidence becomes the byproduct of this. And Sharah is going to organize some of what she shares with you around these 3 C's. There's actually a 9 grid that she did for her own prep. So light bulb moments hopefully will come thanks to our sponsors. Qnity is the main sponsor. We are here to help you earn great money, do what you love, and have quality of life, as well as those everybody else in the pro beauty industry, schools and students, of course. So it's about how to go from what's confusing, complicated, overwhelming, and have a clear, simple path to greater financial prosperity that's simple, visual, and actionable. Shout out to Pivot Point, who is not only a sponsor of the Roundtable, but they're also our partner in the new Money by Qnity course, financial literacy training for forward-thinking schools. Hopefully you're included in that group of forward-thinking schools, and hopefully you'll become a money school. So we've introduced this a few weeks ago, and big opportunity to prepare the next generation with the financial challenges that await them after graduation. So we hope you'll become a money school. You can go to our website, qnityforschools.com, book a demo. We'd love to work with you. Also, shout out to Lightheart Sanders and Jared Sanders for the great work that they're doing, including benchmarking. So I don't know if Jared's with us today, but if you are, Jared, be sure to say hi. All right, so light bulb moments coming. And we are going to welcome Sharah to the Brain Trust. I'm just going to give you a little bit of introduction. So these roundtables have been so focused on money, which is the purpose of the roundtable, that we have to realize that what we actually promote is to really look at all 3 currencies, not just the currency of money. Make sure you look at the currency of time and attention also, because they're vital. And the thing about time is you can't get it back. Money, you can get back. You can't get time back. And so I know, just a quick share with you, when I started my entrepreneurial career, I had been in the workforce for, and through college, maybe, I don't know how many years, maybe 20 years, maybe 15 years. I joined a program as I was emerging into entrepreneurship. It was called the Strategic Coach Program. And one of the reasons that I really liked this program was that it talked about different type of days. They talked about a focus day, which is where your attention is on your biggest and best value creating opportunity, the one that makes you money based upon your own unique ability and opportunity. Then there's something called a buffer day, which is a setup day. It's all your preparation, it's your follow-up, it's meeting with your team. And then there's another day that's called a free day. And a free day is actually vital to having great focus days and great buffer days. And this program recommended you actually plan your free days first, understanding that innovation and you need to recuperate. Okay, and the focus day is when you are completely detached from your work, your money-making activity, and allowing yourself to rejuvenate and rebuild energy. Sharah here has taken that to another level. She is a better practitioner at this as opposed to yours truly, which I very much admire about her. So this ties in several Qnity concepts, including managing your ATM, your attention, time, and money. We already shared the quote about time, and really starting to have some measurements. And Sharah's got some really great measurements as it relates to how she spends her time. Also, the Qnity model is broken down into what we call 8 seasons, 8 different times per year to do initiatives in the different functions of your business. It's a great system for structuring your activities and what you're going to execute. It's also great for planning your time off. So there's an example of an 8 seasons calendar, and whether you're going to plan a week off once a quarter, twice a year, or like Sharah 8 times a year, it's a great tool. So anyway, let's get Sharah to the mic. Good morning in your case.
Yep, still morning, a little bit longer.
Well, 8 weeks off a year. I mean, I am just kind of blown away by that. And I had this goal, which I haven't reached yet, that's where I wanted to be, is 8 weeks off a year. So let me give just a little bit of background about you and for you, and then we can jump in, okay? So you are an Oregon-based business owner. You're the sole owner. You've had this business for 18 years, Eugene, Oregon, Gervais Salon and Wellness Spa. You have been previously a licensed massage therapist. Certainly the spa side of the business is very close to your heart. You have 2 locations, about 50 people, about 3 million in sales, and you're soon to be a Qnity coach, which we're really excited about. We got to spend some time together over the last few days out in Denver, which is how I realized that you had one great nugget of a topic. So anyway, so how do you take 8 weeks off a year and still have a financially successful business and not have the wheels fall apart? Now, we're very mindful that these are schools, these are school owners and leaders, but what you're sharing applies to all of us. So how do you do it? How do you take 8 weeks off a year?
Yeah, well, I want to say, yeah, this absolutely is relevant for schools and leaders of schools, because I mean, of course, I think that time off and having protected time is valuable for all humans, of course, but I think especially in the field of inspiration, like literally, or in the field of education and inspiration. And I'm absolutely sure that burnout and overwhelm and overworking is absolutely something that you guys are probably experiencing regularly. And boy, I don't know how, I know for me, it's really hard to show up for students and people when we're in that state. So yeah, well, so let's go ahead.
Well, this didn't happen overnight. So let's start at the beginning and get closure, sort of where you were, and then we'll get to how you get to where you are today.
Awesome, thanks. I love using these 3 C's, such an incredible tool to kind of help organize my mind and my thoughts. So I used the 3 C's of closure, clarity, and confidence to kind of prep for this today. So I'm going to take you guys through each one. So closure being the first, which is kind of asking, well, what happened? You know, tell me what happened. And then the second part of that is like, how did it make you feel? And so what was happening? So in the early years of my career, let's say my first 7 years of my career, you know, working working more than 60 hours a week, really struggling with my quality of life, feeling a real drain on my passion. This is a career. I love what I do. I love my company. But really 7 years in, and I'm thinking I got, how many more to go? Feeling a drain on my passion. And then also just struggling with clarity, like just kind of feeling tired and so overwhelmed and so many things coming at me on a day-to-day basis that I just felt like I also was lacking clarity for where I was going, what I wanted to do. How did I feel? I felt tired all the time. I felt guilty all the time. I felt guilty. I have 2 kids at home. And so having at home with my kids, I felt guilty for not being at work. And when I was at work, I felt guilty for not being home with my kids. So that feeling of guilty, anxiousness, just overwhelm in general was kind of my state in those first few years. And I thought, gosh, this isn't going to work for me long term.
I shared with you that yesterday I had a conversation with a business owner. And it was very similar to a conversation I had with another business owner about 3 weeks ago. The business owner contacted me because she wanted advice on how to sell her business. And in talking to her, and her husband eventually joined the conversation, she actually loves to work and feels like she's got another 20 years ahead of her, but she wanted to sell her business. And in talking to her, she had this sort of sigh that went a little bit like this and said, you know what I really want? I just want a week off. And it was a very similar conversation I had to another owner. So you have people that are thinking they need to sell their business because of quality of life, when perhaps they can just implement some changes like you're talking about. So let's go with clarity here. And tell us where you're at today, what a week looks like, how much time you take off and all of that. Then we'll get to your secret sauce in a little bit here.
Okay, awesome. So the clarity of the 3 C's is kind of, what did you want to have happen? Thinking for yourself, what did I want to have happen? And how would I feel if I was able to make that happen, right? And so what I wanted to do and what I set out as my intention and have succeeded at for this last 10 years is I wanted to work 40 hours or less. And of course, there's an ebb and flow. Some weeks I work 25 hours and some weeks I work 55 hours. But for the most part, I very much consistently average less than 40 hours. I work a 4-day work week. So I take Friday, Saturday, and Sundays off most of the time. And so I have a pretty consistent 4-day work week, which is really important. And then I wanted to have a substantial, what I felt like was a really substantial amount of protected time off, like time completely away. And that number for me was 8 weeks a year. So that's separate from my days off, like during the week. And how would that make me feel if I was able to do that? Like getting clarity on how that would make me feel. If I achieved that, oh my gosh. I mean, I felt like I would feel inspired, right? I would feel more energized. I would feel replenished. I would feel more whole. I would feel like a more whole person, both at home and at work, to be able to have more of that balance. And ultimately, just I would feel happier, like I would be happier. And I would have that security of like, I don't want to get out of this business. I don't want to not be doing this. I feel strong enough and balanced enough to keep going.
So not only is it 8 weeks off a year, but it's also within the week. See, when you originally told me that 8 weeks off a year, the first thing is like, oh my gosh, she's like cramming all her work in. I remember when I was a CPA, I mean, I used to have like 2 months off a year because I just worked so crazy and during tax season, But what you're talking about is kind of a double whammy benefit here. Not only are you talking about 8 weeks out of business detached, but you're talking about under 40 hours a week and 4 days a week. So that's bonus. Now, I want to unpack this. I want to go first to the 8 weeks. So you're not like doing a week every season or a week, you're doing more 2 weeks, 4 times a year. Is that about right?
Yeah, most of the time I find that it varies a little bit. It just usually ends up tallying up to about 8 or so weeks a year. And so what I find, and I don't know, I think a lot of people feel this, especially as owners and leaders, when I'm on vacation, it takes me to like day 5 before I've actually begun my vacation. Like, I'm not thinking about work, I'm not processing, like I've really been able to kind of settle into like that reset mode. It takes me like 5 days. So if I had like a 7-day vacation, I would barely really kind of have that time. So I really set a minimum of 10 days, usually 2 weeks. So, and I do that 4 times a year. So that's pretty important.
So I'd love to hear people weigh in the chat. If I was in the chat right now, what I would be putting is, something about how long it takes to really enter into vacation. Sorry, my mind was going a little slow there for a moment. And I would say 3 to 5 days is right. So I'd love to hear in the chat, is that true for you guys too? When you are out and looking to take time off, how many days does it take you to disconnect? Sharah is saying 5 days. For me, it might be 3 days, but would love to hear about that. Okay, I kind of cut you off there. Keep going here. I want to hear a little bit about, thank you, Dawn, at least 4 to 5 days. Tell me a little bit, well, I have this question. What do you do in these 8 weeks? I mean, are you checking in? I mean, are you like checking in every morning, checking in the sales totals and all that, checking with your leadership team? So 2-part question. What are you doing during that off time? And are you really disconnected?
Yeah, that's a super good question, I think. So for me, I'm a super planner. I love planning ahead. And these are like, gosh, this has been some of the most memorable, impactful experiences of my life, setting aside this time and then what I've chosen to do with them. So I have done, a Europe trip with my best friend. 2 years ago, I took my mom down the Grand Canyon on a 15-day rafting trip, which was a dream of hers. And I mean, that I'll never, ever forget that experience, nor will she, like just life-changing. And sometimes it's camping trips, and I love travel. So I go to, Hawaii with my family. Every year we go and spend 2 weeks paddleboarding and swimming and just being together. And like I said before, I plan myself way far out. So I'm actually planned all the way through 2023 with my trips, which I've got a 3-week trip in New Zealand for, you go and rent the vans and travel around one of the islands for 3 full weeks. So that's what's on the horizon for me. I'm super excited about that.
So you plan out that far in advance. And is that part of your key to success, is that you really are looking that far out into the future?
I think so. I mean, you need to set aside the time and plan for it, right? You have to save for those kind of trips. Those aren't cheap. So you have to save for it and plan financially. And so I really feel the key is to do it in advance, because I don't know about you guys, but if I don't block it out and set the time, it just goes by. Somebody in the chat asked about like, how did it work out with COVID? And for the most part, definitely this year, I'm completely on track with my 8 weeks this year. That was really important. Last year was probably a little bit less because I literally couldn't go very many places. So I think I maybe only did 6 weeks for actually like in the crisis of the pandemic. But boy, if I don't plan it out, then life just gets busy and we just move through it. And then before we know it, we have taken 1 week off in a whole year.
So let's look at a week at a glance, because in working 40 hours a week with leadership teams, 2 locations, a lot of being pulled as a parent too, you've created great structure to your week. So kind of break down what your week looks like, what a normal week looks like for you.
Yeah, that really is important for me. I'm a little bit kind of spacey my nature's a little bit all over the place. I can be kind of ADD sometimes. So I really have to have good, strong structures in order to be successful for myself. So Mondays are my, beginning of my week. I work Monday through Thursday, and Mondays are kind of my regroup. I read my emails, I catch up on communication. I have a 2 or so hour block set aside for financial fitness. It's kind of my heavy admin day to just get myself ready, look at what's coming, anything I need to prepare for that's happening. Tuesday is a little bit of a flex day. Sometimes I'm putting meetings in, coffee dates with some of my seniors or touching base with the team, usually very kind of, because I'm really we'll talk about like the meat of how I actually do this. I'm really not in the day-to-day operations very much. So when I'm on site, I'm really just there to connect. And then sometimes Tuesday will maybe I have a heavier admin week. So then it's going to be an admin day. It's a little bit of a flex depending on what's happening. My Wednesdays are my meeting days. They're packed from like 7 a.m. until 6:30 sometimes, depending on the week. They're packed with meetings. I meet with my leadership team every Wednesday for 90 minutes and just check in and talk about things. And then every other Wednesday, I meet with each one of my leaders one-on-one to just kind of check in and support. And then any other meetings, I'll try and plug those all in on Wednesday. It kind of helps me not to, otherwise I find if I got meetings spread through my whole week, I'm traveling, I'm going back and forth, and I'm just not staying as focused as I could. And then Thursday's my free day or my flex day of, this is where sometimes I'm buttoning things up and kind of really getting myself ready for the next week or the next thing that's coming up.
So let's go through how you made this happen. This is the steps there, which I think we all can learn from this. Not everybody in this call has the ability to, and the discretion to be able to take this much time off, but they certainly have the opportunity to create more balance in their life. So tell us how this happened, because again, it didn't happen overnight. There's certain keys to success, and, be as specific as you'd like to be.
And I really want to challenge. I think most people can do this. I think at all different sizes of business, you can do it. It might be a little more complicated. Being a little bit of a bigger company, I have a little bit more opportunity because I have a little bit more resources for those leadership teams. But I really am a believer that if it's important to you, you can make it happen depending on what you choose. So on the how we do it is under the C's is the confidence section. And we ask ourselves, what would I have to do in order to achieve this result? And then the second question, which is almost as important or more important to me, which is who would I have to be to make this happen? Who would I have to be to make this happen? So what would I have to do? Absolutely, I had to delegate. I had to delegate off of my plate a lot of those day-to-day operations that need to be handled on a day-to-day basis. Things like inventory management and things like I have mostly HR handled by somebody else, and marketing is handled by one of my guest relations team. And then I was telling on the earlier call, I have a recruitment director and an education director, but what she is a part-time stylist. She's in her 50s. She doesn't want to, it's hard for her body to be behind the chair a lot, but she's so passionate about young people and she's so excited about that she works 3 days behind the chair and then fills in maybe 10 hours a week. She maybe spends 10 hours a week for recruitment and education. So it doesn't have to be like I've got all these extra separate roles and I'm paying all these people. That's what I used to think before. And I'm like, well, this person operates as a location manager, but they also handle HR. They also handle the marketing. Another location manager loves and does all the inventory. So just kind of, and professional supplies. So delegating out the things that need to be handled every single day. So that's huge and not easy to do, both for myself and for those people. The second important part with that is systems. Because if you train, you guys know, I'm sure, you train somebody to handle and delegate something and then they change, they are gone or leave. And then what are you supposed to do? You're back taking it over yourself. And that does happen. There's each of these roles. A lot of times I'll pick them back up occasionally here and there, which I kind of actually love because it gives me a fresh perspective on it. But I have worked for years. This has so been a process of creating better and better systems so that as people change in those roles, or even just improving the role in itself, for example, like inventory, making that there's a system that kind of, this is exactly how we do things. And so it's kind of easy to train somebody else. It's easy to maintain it because it's very structured. And the biggest key to that was small steps. Like I did not accomplish this in a year, I didn't say, oh, I'm going to take all this time and have all these things set up. It took me years. It took years of focus and dedication to kind of make this transition and move toward this. Being really transparent with my team was important, and then being flexible, like learning from it and realizing there were things that I needed to kind of adapt to or change in order to, but the most important part was that I just kept this as a priority. No, this is important. I'm going to be able to make this happen. And then the piece that I think is as important as that how-to part is the who do I have to be in order to make it happen. And the first part of that, and this is what I hear from a lot of owners and a lot of leaders, is I had to give myself permission. I feel like we live a little bit in a society that's like, if you're successful and if you are valuable, you work all the time. That's how you are valuable. That's how you are showing the world that you are worthy, is because you're working all the time and you have so much. And just even allowing yourself to be like, I can still be a very like successful, fulfilled, and competent leader and have good, balanced, protected time. So giving yourself permission and saying, I could do this. It's going to be okay. And then I had to be willing to trust my people. Like, I trust you to make decisions. I know another thing, it can be hard as a leader to let something go. Like if we hold it all ourselves, right? Oh, it's easier, I'll just do it myself. That is scary. I had to learn to trust and just allow that people were going to make mistakes. People were going to do things differently than I would, but kind of trust the process. And be vulnerable, put myself out there to allow other people to carry some of these responsibilities and not be on site day to day answering and meeting all my team's needs. That was definitely kind of a feeling of vulnerability.
Part of what we explored was, the financial part of your business. And from what I'm hearing from you is that although you may have decided to spend a little bit more on support staff, and made that trade, money for time, you still have very high profitability. Mm-hmm. And so I don't hear about the business suffering financially, and that's the case.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I'm sure a lot of people, it's been a journey. There's times over in my 18 years, my profitability, where I've had to work hard to keep improving my profitability. But especially in like the last 10 years, I stay within a good range of between 7 and 11% profitability, which I feel good about, as far as, having a multi-million-dollar business, that it works well for me. I have had to, especially in the beginning, I did really make the choice of like, I'm gonna increase my support benchmark. I was anywhere between 9 and 11% of sales going to support staff, and that includes those extra management kind of wages, so that I could have that freedom. For me, it was very worth giving up. I could have chosen to not do that and keep that extra few percentage for myself, but it was very worth it to me to give that few percentages to somebody else so that I had a little bit more freedom. So yeah, it's a, how all it is with financial fitness, it takes effort and constant attention, but I absolutely am in a great place with it and have been for quite a while, and still have.
Well, you're outperforming most of your peers at that profitability. So that's awesome. You talked about you're always looking for leaders, and that so go there for a moment.
Yeah, so that's a huge part, right? Is I have to find leaders that are willing and excited and engaged to kind of help manage that day to day of the things that are happening. I believe leadership and management is there to serve my team so that they can do their job of making my guests happy. And so what I do with leaders, I've had a few things, like I was telling you earlier, Tom, like I've had an operations manager that was kind of higher paid salary that oversaw a lot more people. And then I found a lot of success in the last few years of actually really looking for newer and younger people that were just excited and engaged. Are they excited? Are they interested? And maybe this is a person that has never been given a leadership opportunity before. One of my current location managers, I can't believe she hasn't been in a leadership role, because she is so extraordinary, and she's only been doing it now with me for a year. But I'm so amazed every time I find a leader and basically give them that opportunity and that responsibility, and they rise. I almost every time, like 9 times out of 10, they rise to the occasion, and they actually exceed my expectations, which is pretty amazing.
Joe, thanks for your comment. I'd love to hear more comments. What's resonating with you guys out there? What's sticking with you? Put it in the chat. Would love to hear from you. So Sharah, you have a bench. You have a leadership bench. You have people that are, if leaders move on, as they very well may, and that's certainly true in schools, that there's going to be turnover. You've developed a bench, and so you've got people waiting in the wings, and I think that's a huge best practice. Anything else to say on that?
Yeah, I mean, that really helps, right? Because that makes the difference. Having those people kind of in the wings where I'm thinking, ooh, this person has a lot of leadership potential. If something opens up here, this might be great. Or I have even just this small little project or small little passion project. I'm just going to give it to them. No wage change, no role change. I'm just going to give it to them so that they know that I see that, potential in them. But that makes a really big difference in as far as like how much I have to sometimes come and pick back up if there's a change of leadership. If I have these other people, like I just went through a big transition with one of my managers that was with me for years. And then when she left, I had these two team members that were just so wonderful and really had been showing their potential. And we brought them into these new leadership roles and they've just blown me away. And these are young, fresh, new people that haven't been in this role. And like I said, my education director, it's definitely not about age. It's just about excitement and interest. My, inner 50s recruitment director is the best person for that role. She's just passionate about it. And that's important.
It's a great segue to a comment, or not a comment, a question by Chris. How do you review school graduates for hire within your business?
How do I review school graduates? Okay, well, first and foremost, we are in the schools as much as we can. My recruitment director and all of our team, we take turns. I've gone in and done like goal setting talks. And so we want to be present in the schools. And when we love new applicants, we love people straight out of school. And we have kind of a process of first, we just do a meet and greet on the phone of just kind of getting a sense. To be really blunt, we just want to see, can they complete a sentence? Can they literally just have a simple, straightforward conversation? Because sometimes I'm surprised that can be hard for some people just to talk. So we do a quick check-in over phone, and then we have them come in and do a shadow. We bring them into the space. I always tell people, especially the young, new generation, like, this isn't just about whether or not I'm picking you. This is you picking me. I want you to come into my space, meet the team, see how the team treats each other, see how you see people engaging, and you're deciding as much as I'm deciding if you're the right fit. And then our final piece is if they pass that step, they do a technical interview, just so we can kind of check. We're only able to add so much education, so we kind of do a quick technical check. And I don't really do most of the time I'm meeting a new hire. Again, this is just in the last 2 years. Previous years, I was usually very involved in each step. These last some years, sometimes I'm not involved in any of it.
Are you able to see it in the heart and soul of a student that, wow, this person is a leader? And has it come true? I mean, like you saw someone right at the beginning and said, this person's high potential, and it panned out, and whoa, that person's, so your instincts were good?
Yeah, I've seen both, honestly. Like, I definitely feel like there's those really clear cases where this person is highly engaged. We look for 3 traits, and this is specifically for people coming out of school, because sometimes I have a hard time giving up on anybody. I'm like, they can do it. It's going to be okay. So I force myself to have these 3 traits we look for in order to make basically like hiring and firing decisions. So we look for culture or attitude. How's their attitude? How are they like engaging and communicating? We look at motivation. Do they finish their homework? Do they follow up? Do they complete the application? Like, are they motivated? And then the third piece we look at, which is our least important in my perspective, is a technical. Are they technically able to meet the need? Because we can help train and refine that. And so the way we use that is if somebody is struggling in one of those 3 areas, then that's okay. We'll nurture that area. If they're struggling in 2 or more, we usually make a choice that that's not going to work. So we get people that come in, they hit all 3 of those boxes pretty much all the time. They're going to be a 10 and we don't have a question. But I'm kind of also impressed how often we get somebody that isn't ticking all those boxes, and with like clear, kind, and direct communication and nurturing, they become one of those superstars.
And just imagine in the future, you'll be able to also vet students based upon whether they took the Qnity money course or not.
Oh, that's going to be so amazing. What an incredible value. I'm so excited, Tom, that you guys are doing that. Gosh, I wish I could have saved myself so much pain and agony if I would have had more financial training as a new entrepreneur. Like, that would have changed my life. It's going to change people's lives.
All right. So Chris, You are in your schools locally. Do you ever do any Zoom classes across the nation? That's her first question.
Hmm. I don't. We do connect with a school that's a couple hours away, and we do that via Zoom. And we would be happy to connect with anybody anywhere if we, but we haven't. Eugene's a pretty small community. We're just about 2 hours outside of Portland, and it's kind of a smaller town. We're about 400,000 people in our area. And so sometimes I guess my mind, at least, I don't know if this is true, sometimes my mind feels like, oh, somebody from across the country isn't going to be interested in coming to this small town, but maybe that's a limiting belief of mine.
Some great comments by, I know I have had students interested in the Oregon area after graduation. So Chris also asked, do you include that in the presentations you have with your schools? I think she must be referring to some of your criteria and what you look at and that kind of stuff. Okay.
We have a fun slide with pictures for those 3 qualities, if that's what you're talking about. And yeah, if anybody wants to come to Oregon, send them my way. That would be awesome.
Well, and I can, and that's the thing, about that. So Chris is opening up a great conversation. You don't have to be in your region, and that's the beauty. So I'm thinking of you guys out there as school owners and leaders, and how you had to adapt so quickly with Zoom and going virtual. And wow, what a silver lining on that, because basically what we're able to do is now able to allow recruitment to go beyond your marketplace, because people will relocate. Hey, I'm gonna give a great example myself. I actually lived in Eugene, Oregon one summer. Okay. And when you have destination locations, and I think Eugene's a destination location, actually, why not recruit outside your marketplace? I would love to connect on this presentation you offer within schools locally. Okay, so Chris is amazing. I'll introduce you to Chris. Thank you, Chris. And then Alcott jumped in here. Empowerment and delegation for sure. Joe, great comment. You've got some other comments about how much time people are taking off. Let's see. Bumps in the road. I'm looking at the clock here. We have, probably about 10 more minutes altogether, and I need about 5 of them. So let's see here. Tell me about bumps in the road.
Yeah, definitely been bumps in the road. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have some secret magic ingredient or brain. Like I am like a lot of business owners. I'm not super smart or super capable or have some crazy degree or background. I have learned most of my things through trial and error, and a lot of error and growth on that. So there have been significant bumps that we've kind of had to navigate through. One of the first ones that arose was, and I'm sure you guys have this, like most of us as owners, we build the beginning of our business by being that touchstone and being kind of the leader and the director of the culture, and being the person that everyone goes to, and you kind of handle all the fires and take care of all the needs and serve all the people. So as I started to reduce my hours, as I started to take this time off, especially senior team members, ones that are still with me today, that was a little bit of a tough transition, like just kind of feeling like worried or a little bit of anxiousness. And that was hard for me. I really like to feel like I'm meeting everybody's needs. And I had to just choose that this is for my longevity. If I'm really going to be the best owner for as long as I can, I have to. This is a requirement for my survival. And so I had to accept that they were going to feel a little unnerved as I began to pull back. Now, because it's part of our culture, I am not the go-to person. I'm not the person that takes care of like everything that arises in a day. I'm the person that comes in with inspiration and helps them know where the company's going and keeps them grounded and like what's happening. Boy, in COVID, I was like the person that was telling them what was happening, what we were going to do, and how that we were going to be getting through it. Like I was able to do the parts that I feel really strong about. But that was kind of painful and difficult to move through a little bit. Also, I definitely had some ups and downs with the finances of it, like working on that support budget and making sure that I had the ability economically to take the time and to continue to pay those other people. And then change of leadership. You have somebody doing that role in the earlier years before I had as good a structure as I did, then somebody would change positions and whoop, back to working, 50 hours this week because I'm handling inventory. So that doesn't happen much anymore. But it definitely was some painful learning, but it's just little steps and keeping your mind on like, this is important for me and the company, and just keep moving through them as opposed to kind of giving up.
Yeah. So the group doesn't know this, but we were just out in Denver together. You went through our certification program, and you're soon to be a trainer and a coach. And I don't like trainers and coaches that that don't have their house in order, their business. If their business is in order, business is not in order, then we really don't want them as a trainer and a coach. They should first focus on their business. But I love that you're going to be more active with us. And we joked a little bit earlier. It's like, hey, I would love to do the 8 weeks off, and maybe you'll coach me on how to do that. Okay. She's going to coach me how to get 8 weeks off, because that's been a goal of mine for a while. But it's hard when you keep starting new businesses and that kind of stuff, and create new products. And I think you're like me, and like so many other people on here. You love what you do, and that's really comes through. And you also want to have great quality of life, and you want to make great money. So earlier I joked our whole purpose at Qnity is to earn great money, do it to love, and have quality of life. And if I had an award sitting here for the earn more money, do it to love, have quality of life, inspiration, I would give it to you. Instead, what I'm going to do is award you now your second $1 million light bulb here, and welcome you to the Brain Trust. And what a great contribution, Sharon. Thank you for double dipping. The group doesn't know this, but you got home very late last night and got up very early this morning. You're on the West Coast. And so thank you for giving to this community. Let's all give Sharah a virtual round of applause. Also, load up the chat with her a little bit to give her a shout out. And Sharah, I'm sure that many people on this call, myself included, got a lot out of this. So thank you.
Oh, thanks so much. It was such a treat. And somebody had a specific question, I think. So I just put my email in the chat. It's my name, Sharah@gervaiseugene.com. I couldn't tell if they want me to send them. I'm happy to send anybody anything about what we do in those little Zoom. I love the Zoom recruitment for schools. You really can broaden your network. So if anybody needs or has any questions of any kind, you're welcome to just email me directly. And this has been a real treat. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right. Excellent. All right. So let's wrap it up. We'd love to have you become a money school. There's a lot of myths and traps out there that we address in our curriculum. We teach a lot of very pragmatic stuff, including everyday budgeting, money success, money planning. And these just happen to be some slides on budgeting, but we cover so much in this course that's really going to prepare this next generation to have a very successful career where they excel at their craft and money skills. So, part of what we're always looking for is money stories. So if you have a money story you want to share with us that might inspire students, let us know. We'd love to get you involved. Go to qnityforschools.com to book a demo. Closing thoughts. I love this quote, so I'm going to reuse it. I used it last week. Always believe that something wonderful is about to happen. And something wonderful happened last weekend when Sharah, you and I spent some time together, and you talked about your 8 weeks off and how that just made me pause right in my step. And I said, what? And then here you are sharing with this group. So that was really wonderful of you, and you're a wonderful person. So thank you. And thanks to all of you. And I'm going to do just a quick check to see who's on the call. We've got Alcott, Amanda, Andrew, Christine, Dawn, Diane, Diana, Jessica, Joe, Karen, Chris, Lori, Leah, Mark, Michael, Susan, Terry, and we had some other people that already just left us. So we will see you next week, and then we have a week off. So next week we're on with the Roundtable at noon Central Time. We're going to have another amazing guest, and I have an idea who it's going to be, but I won't say yet. So, all right, everybody, thanks again. And Sharah, thanks again for your help.